This is interesting we heard a while ago, we've heard a couple times about different video game companies wanting to actually get into the movie making business. And that I think it was about a year and a half ago, Blizzard said, or it was announced that Blizzard was going to be developing their own kind of feature film project arm or whatever. And we know that they're starting moving and stuff. Apparently now Sega, of all the video game companies, Sega apparently is getting into the feature film and television department. They've merged with another company to make a new company called Stories International, which is basically run and created by Sega. And Stories International is going to be a group that will produce films, TV shows, and entertainment for digital platforms. And apparently what they're going to start, and we're talking about some animated stuff, but also live action features, what they say, live action feature films. And they're going to start with these games. They don't say which ones will be featured films and which one will be for television, but here's what they said they're starting with. Altered Beast, Streets of Rage, Shinobi, Rise of Nightmares, Crazy Taxi, Virtua Fighter, and Golden Axe. So those are the ones they're starting with. And once again, they don't say in the report which ones they're targeting as feature films, which ones they're targeting as whatever. But Dennis, what do you think when you hear Sega? Because I don't think of Sega having the most iconic lineup of video games. But what do you think of them getting into this game? And then what do you think of the titles that we just listed off?
I mean,
like which ones would you see being targeted for feature films?
I mean, I was a huge Sega fan. Like there was like back in the 90s, there was like the whole Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo.
Right.
And you kind of had to like pick a side. And I picked the Sega side. That was like the my first encounter with like fanboyism, you know, like where people were battling it out. But at the same time, this is like 15, 20 years too late for them.
Yeah.
They should have been doing this. I mean, that was at the height of their popularity. Now, like Sega, they still make games that people buy and enjoy, but they just aren't the brand that they used to be. So if they're going that route, it just seems so late in the game. I mean, their biggest property is obviously Sonic, which has had a successful, like, cartoon and animated, but it's never gone to a feature film.
Which oddly enough, I don't see listed here. So maybe their rights have been bought out by somebody else. Because we know there are Sonic cartoons out there.
Yeah.
So their rights must have been bought out by another entertainment company at some point.
And then, like, Altered Beast is a classic. Golden Axe is a classic. Crazy Taxi, that kind of came out during the Dreamcast era, and a lot of people enjoyed it. I just don't know. I almost feel like they should put these out in either animated or live action like television shows and kind of like figure out which one's successful before bringing it over to feature film. Because I just don't know if any of these, you know, I love Streets of Rage and stuff like that. I don't know what Rise of Nightmares is.
The one that stands out to me instantly as, okay, if, and this is a big if any of these seem feasible and viable as potentially a feature film treatment out of the blocks, I'd say Shinobi. I mean, because it's a tried and true format. It's the ninja format, right? So, and then you can basically do whatever you want around that. So, and Shinobi's a recognizable name. One of the more recognizable names out of this. So if I were to put my money on anything, if I'm the new head guy of the Stories International for Sega, and I say, you pick one of these 8 that you're going to do a feature film on, I would do Shinobi. I think that one's got the biggest chance. It's got some name recognition. You can use some tried and true formulas to try to come out of the gate with a little bit of success. I don't know. What would you do?
I'd go Golden Axe. I just feel like fantasy is pretty
big right now.
Big right now, and I think you could do something with those, with that name and those characters. You had that dwarf character, you had the girl and the guy. So I feel like that's something you could build upon and create a whole fantasy world around.
Right.
Yeah, that one or Altered Beast, which is kind of a classic as well. But I would go with Golden Axe.
Okay, Golden Axe, Shinobi, and then the rest, who knows what they're going to do. And look, just because a company says they're going to do something, don't hold your breath. If I had to right now, absolutely had to put $100 down on, yes, one of these movies is going to get made and hit a theater near you, or no, it's not, and I had no choice, I had to put a bet down, I would put the bet on no, it won't happen. I'm not guaranteeing it won't happen. I'm just saying if I absolutely had to put $100 down right now, yes, they will happen, yet no, it won't. I would go, no, it won't. What would you do?
I would probably go, no, they won't, unless you counted like some sort of very, very limited release, you know, like where they make a movie and they release it in like 20 theaters nationwide. And, you know, I think what House of Dead was like a Sega property that like,
wow.
That was, you know, I just don't see them having the cachet or the name recognition to pull it off. I would love them to do it, but it's just not the same. I'm actually more looking forward to, you know, Seth Rogen and his partner Evan Goldberg are doing that. What was it? What was that? I have the book. It was the like
Ready Player One.
No. It's basically about the Sega Genesis versus Super Nintendo.
Oh, that's right. I remember
something like
that
Battle of the Consoles or something like that. I have the ebook and I'm reading it right now. It's a fascinating read. It's kind of like what we were talking about yesterday with the whole McDonald's thing, where it's like it's not really about McDonald's, it's about the people and the struggle and behind it. And there's like this fascinating thing about how like Sega was an underdog and how they overcame that to battle and take market share away from Nintendo, which was a juggernaut at that time. So I'm really looking forward to that movie.
You know what I would love to see? Speaking about these real life things, the consoles, McDonald's, whatever. I know it sounds like a little bit of a hack off on Social Network, but honestly, I would love to see a movie, given the quote-unquote David Fincher treatment, whoever, of the rise and fall of MySpace. I would be now, and not just because you and I have some very personal reasons, but beyond the personal reasons we have, I would actually quite be fascinated about the rise to power, because we saw in Social Network the rise to power of a big social media thing, but like don't forget how we got onto this from Sega. I'm not sure, sorry, but just indulge me for a second. How a lot of people forget MySpace was huge and considered the Titanic. It was considered unsinkable. It was the biggest force online and will ever, and for a couple of years, it looked like forever and always it will be. Like, who's in your top 8 was the big thing. That was the thing. Who's in your top 8, you know? And then it almost feels like overnight it became obscure. Yeah. You know? And I would love to see a movie about that.
Hey everyone, if you liked this video, click that thumbs up button and make sure to subscribe to our AMC Movie News YouTube channel. It's free and helps you stay up to date with all the latest movie news, as well as our daily AMC movie talk show. Also, make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter to stay up to date with all of our special promotions, contests, and prize giveaways.